Hey there, Terror Talks fans. Are you looking for some other content to listen to? Well, check out our friends at Tales from the Crypt. Join them on a journey into the unexplained, the unnatural, and the unbelievably scary. Every week, they dig through the creepiest and weirdest listener stories, almost too horrifying to be true. This ghoulishly delightful podcast is narrated by two ghoulish girls. Have a story to tell? Questions? Comments? Contact them at tftcsub@gmail.com. Be sure to check them out and let them know the Terror Talk sent you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to another episode of The Terror Talks. Today, we are picking up where we left off on our last episode, talking about the Halloween Horror Nights icons. With me, I have my special guest, Aidan. Say hello, Aidan.
Hey, everybody. How's it going again?
Good to have you back on the show. So, last week, we discussed the Halloween Horror Nights icons. Two of them we talked about, Jack and the Caretaker. Well, this week we're going to talk about even more. We're going to dive into the rest of them and give you that little special one at the end called Fear. But before we do that, we're going to jump into our Halloween news segment. So here we are with the news. First up in our news today, we have Netherworld Haunted House. Netherworld is officially hiring actors. We have the official press release right here in front of us. We're going to read it off to you. Be a part of our 25th season of Screams. It takes hundreds of people to bring Netherworld Haunted House to life every year, and as we fast approach haunt season, we are gearing up once again to recruit additional cast and crew for this, our 25th season of Screams. We are currently hiring for all positions. If you'd like to work at one of the most famous haunted attractions in the world, please review the job categories below and enter your information on the form that follows. Someone will be back to you in the next few weeks. So, the categories we have, if you are interested, are entertainment. So these are going to be all your actors, monsters, and performers who scare, amuse, and entertain the guests of Netherworld. You must be energetic, have some past haunted house, theater, film, or LARP cosplay experience is a plus. And be sure to list any relevant skills you have. That means if you can slide on the ground and do the little slide thing on the, what is it, like knee pads or whatever? You slide on the ground on those. Yeah, if you can do that, that's a skill. We also have the games masters at Escape the Netherworld. That is their escape rooms that they offer. They're looking for people for those, and the games that are also featured on their midway. Any skills in entertainment, photography, customer service, and cash handling are a plus. Sales, this is going to be your ticket booth, gift shop, souvenir photos, info booth, and food truck staff. If you have any cash handling, retail experience, knowledge of POS system, food preparation, and customer service, those are all pluses. Next, we have operations. So these are going to be your guys who are doing the staff queues, park cars, direct customers, keep common areas clean, set up signage, and photo ops. They also need to have crowd management skills, customer service, event parking, EMT skills, security, photography, setup, tear down skills. So basically, if you've ever done theater at this point or worked in a theme park or something like that, you could probably do this. Finally, the final category is the backstage crew. These are the people who are doing everything behind the scenes. So you've got makeup, costuming, construction, technical, human resources, marketing, and art. Occasionally, positions in these departments will become available. Theater, film, television, and haunted attraction skills are a plus for that position. There are a couple qualifications that you must meet for all the positions that we just listed. First, you must be at least 18 years of age and able to pass a background check. You'll find that many haunted houses will do that, at least the really big ones will do that. The more local ones don't do that quite as much, but it still happens. Second, you must have the ability to communicate professionally with guests and coworkers. Working in a haunted house, you definitely got to have that skill. You must have a good attitude and overall willingness to help. You must have the ability to perform the following physical tasks, position dependent: walk and stand for 4 to 6 hours, walk on even ground, lift up to 25 pounds. So these are all things that you would have to be able to do to work here. You must be able to work non-traditional hours to include evenings and weekends, September through November. Typically, if I'm remembering correctly, the night you're usually working just about every night, I believe. I want to say Netherworld is open every single night, but they definitely need you on those Friday, Saturday, Sunday gigs. Those are definitely important to have you on. Ability to adapt to a constantly changing work environment and thrive in a team setting. That's very important as well. And then previous customer service experience preferred for non-actor roles. So if you are not applying for an actor role, it would be good to have some customer service experience under your belt. Finally, if you live in the metro Atlanta area and are available to work nights in September and October, fill out the form below to apply for any of the above positions. Be sure to let us know if you have any special skills such as makeup or acting experience. Please note, you must be at least 18 years old to work at Netherworld. So guys, that's a very, very important thing that you have to realize. You have to be 18 to work there, so don't think that you're going to be 16 and try to sneak your way in. I don't think they're going to budge on that. Before we move on to the next piece of news, we did find something on Netherworld's Facebook page. This was actually... Oh. Ha, ha, ha. So, okay, I'm wrong here. We're going to share this with you guys. I don't think this is the truth, but we're still going to share it with you because it's kind of funny, and I think it's kind of funny to read this. So on April 1st, let's all think about that. April 1st, what day is that, folks? April Fool's Day.
April Fools.
Yep. And I was just scrolling through their page, and I saw something that said theme announcement. It says, and then I didn't even look at the date, but I'm going to share this with you just because this is kind of funny. So it says, get ready for a retro explosion. The theme to our second haunt this coming season will be 80s Overload, a celebration of all things that made the 80s great, including, of course, all the groundbreaking physical effects and dark wave-laden horror movies that we've come to know and love. There'll be no shortage of mainstream 80s pop culture, too. B.A. Baracus, Balki Bartakamus, Arnold Jackson, even Mrs. Garrett. They'll all be there. It's going to be a throwback salute / massacre of epic proportions. Stay tuned for theme update on our main show for our upcoming 25th season of Screams. So they said that, they posted on April 1st, so, obviously my first inclination is, okay, it's got to be an April Fool's, but it sounded pretty serious, didn't it?
Yeah, with as much detail as they gave away, they could be joking about joking, honestly, but who knows?
So we'll have to just keep an eye on that. Be sure to check us out, and we'll keep you guys up to date on that. In our second piece of haunted news, we have Lake Hickory Haunts. This is located at Hickory, North Carolina. This is a haunt that we were not so privileged to get to make it to last year. We wanted to, the timing didn't work out. Hopefully this year we're going to get to go to it. The entire haunt is centered around a lake, around Lake Hickory, and it is like really cool. Like I saw some behind the scenes things of them doing one of their new attractions this past year. I saw like a YouTube video of it, and it was really neat. They literally had you walk on like a dock that went out to the middle of the lake, and then you end up in this like lake town that's like, oh, it was really neat. It was really cool.
That sounds pretty wild, honestly. It actually sounds like it'd be a really good experience.
Oh yeah, I think it would be awesome. And they actually have, I don't know if I included it on here. Yes, I did include it on here. They've got a couple new things coming this year to change it up a little bit, and I'll be reading about those. So let's dive right in. All new at Lake Hickory Haunts 2021. For our 10th year of operation, we are expanding, improving, and renovating more than ever before as a thank you to our awesome guests and fans. So for those of you who haven't necessarily heard of it or been there, apparently the place was not necessarily the most fabulous looking place, but they have now gone in and they've done a whole bunch of renovating. I've been keeping up with them on social media, and like, wow, they're just constantly building new things just for the standard guest experience before you even get in the haunted house part of it. So here's what they've got for you. They have an all new box office featuring escape rooms coming soon. So they're taking a page out of Netherworld's book there with the escape rooms. They've got all new restrooms. From what my understanding was, their restrooms were literally porta potties, and now they have built actual restrooms. They've got the plumbing. They've done everything. They have an all-new Monster Mart, so this is their gift shop. I'm not sure what their gift shop was before, but that's always a big step to have a gift shop. Go in there and blow all your dough. They have done a parking lot expansion renovation and new parking lot restrooms. So from the images I saw, you parked in one place and you had to walk down this long path to get to the actual event. Now they actually have a much bigger parking lot expansion to fit all the cars. I've seen it. It's huge. It's pretty awesome. I'm glad they were able to do that. All new concessions. So they have new concessions. I don't know if this means new food offerings at the concessions or if this just means a new concession stand. I'm going to guess probably a new stand because they're building so much, but all new concessions. All new and never before seen second midway. So what this means is at many haunted attractions, after you come out of the haunt, there's this little area in between called the midway. This is where you have your games, your pictures, your food, all that stuff. And they had one, but from what I'm seeing here, they have a second one now. So that'll be really exciting to see what this will be. Lair of the Undead revamp with totally new layout and additions. I'm not sure what the Lair of the Undead is, but I'm sure we'll find out. And there are some more additions, changes, and scares than you thought possible. So they're being very vague. They're not telling us about that. So this year is their 10th year in operation. They're celebrating their 10th anniversary, which for any standard anything, 10 years is always a big deal. Just because most people are like, oh, we didn't think they'd make it 10 years. So this is a big deal to them. So here's what we have. This is their press release for that. Once you have your ticket and park map, the Lake Hickory Haunts experience begins. On your way to the Midway, you will come upon the iconic Overlook, which allows guests to see the Lake Hickory Haunts attractions and lake from afar. The Overlook view is guaranteed to give you goosebumps. This is truly a sight you must see to believe. Next, you will arrive on the Midway of Mayhem, where the fun begins. Rather than waiting in a long and boring line, you can enjoy additional entertainment on the Midway while you wait. In the Midway of Mayhem, experience live stage entertainment featuring a live DJ, music bands, celebrity guests, freak show entertainment, and more. In addition, the Midway at Lake Hickory Haunts features axe throwing, a horror-themed mini escape room, a horrifying 4D asylum simulator, original horror-themed carnival games, tasty concessions, a gift shop, character interaction, photo ops, fire pits, and so much more. Many guests stay for hours after their tour simply because the Midway is filled with so much scary, fun entertainment. Now we're going to tell you a little bit about the haunt here. Upon beginning the main tour, you will make your way through the main attractions. So these are the main things you are going to go through in this place. Nightmare Factory, Lair of the Undead, Shipwrecked, Aquaphobia, Extinction, Aftermath, Slaughterhouse, Descent, and Big Top Circus in 3D. Details on these attractions may be found on the attractions page. Excluding time spent on the Midway of Mayhem, the tour takes approximately 45 minutes to an hour to complete. Lake Hickory Haunts is unique to other haunted attractions as the tour is centered by a large body of water, creating a chill-inducing backdrop to many of our outdoor sets. During your tour at Lake Hickory Haunts, you will make your way through indoor attractions, outdoor attractions, and even walk on water and underground. Lake Hickory Haunts is consistently creating new experiences unlike anything you've ever seen or imagined. Our latest revolutionary attractions are Aquaphobia and Descent. Aquaphobia is an attraction which brings guests out onto the water via a moving floating pier before entering a massive fishing village that was once sunken underwater. That's pretty cool. That's the one I was telling you about that you walked. Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome that they did that. And let me tell you, it looked stunning on the videos that I watched. Our second latest attraction is Descent, a 100-foot-long cave buried 12 feet beneath the ground. No exaggeration, no facade, just an underground cave with caverns, sewers, darkness, and monsters lurking within. Descent is just one example of why Lake Hickory Haunts is your #1 haunted attraction destination. The Lake Hickory Haunts tour features a huge and wide variety of sets, scares, props, and special effects. Regardless of your favorite fear, it is waiting for you at Lake Hickory Haunts. It is our guarantee that your experience will be worth much more than what you pay. Our team works non-stop year after year to provide an experience that is unrivaled and is among the very best across the nation. This, combined with our customer satisfaction priority, is why Lake Hickory Haunts is consistently voted and ranked the #1 haunted attraction and scream park in the Carolinas. In addition to being named among the top 10 haunts in America, Lake Hickory Haunts is the best and scariest theme park or scariest haunted house attraction and thrill park in North Carolina. Lake Hickory Haunts provides a safe, fun, and exciting environment which is enjoyable for families, date nights, friends, and more. Whether you love Halloween, horror, being scared, or simply want to enjoy a night filled with fun experiences, visit your #1 Halloween and entertainment destination and see why Lake Hickory Haunts is the scariest and best haunted house in North Carolina. We hope you visit us this season and experience Lake Hickory Haunts. Our monsters are waiting.
Oh, it's a lot of information right there to process.
I know, right? I mean, that sounds pretty interesting, doesn't it, though?
Yeah, they definitely have a lot going for them, especially with their whole midway thing they were talking of. It sounded like they were more interested in keeping people around for the long run rather than just, oh, like, here's a haunted house. I actually like that they're trying to keep people around for longer periods of time, honestly.
Yeah, it does, and it's really like you see this a lot with a lot of the haunted houses nowadays. Like Netherworld is one of those big ones. They do the same thing. They have this big midway with all these different games, food, all that stuff. But then they have laser tag and the escape rooms and a museum. Like, they have that type of thing. And then Lake Hickory has that type of thing. These different haunted houses are really sort of developing into these like powerhouses for horror to keep you there for as long as possible. And I can safely say they keep me there for a very long time every time I go to any of these. So I think this is very exciting. They are hiring actors right now. There's not a whole lot of information on that. What we do know is that they are looking for actors, and all you need to do to apply to work there is go to lakehickoryhaunts.com, LAKEHICKORYHAUNTS.com. Go there, fill out the information. They've got everything that you'll need to know on the forms and whatnot. So be sure to check that out. So that is going to do it for our news segment today. So let's jump into the main part of our episode.
All right. Dive more. So we're continuing from where we left off. We have our fabled director here, and he seems like a pretty important icon, honestly, given the information I'm looking at on screen here.
Yeah, he is. He's one of those ones that kind of showed up a lot. He's one of those like big powerhouse icons that showed up. So Aidan, tell us about him. Read him.
Let's see. The director, he was also known by his real name as Paolo Ravinsky. He was the main event icon at Halloween Horror Nights 13. Lucky number 13, guys. Wow. He would later appear as a co-icon with other returning characters, the Caretaker, Jack the Clown, and the Storyteller for Halloween Horror Nights Sweet 16. And a different version was the first icon for Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood at Halloween Horror Nights 2006. Yet another version was used at Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Studios Singapore when it started for 2011. So it seems there are different iterations here for the director, but let's go on and continue. So the director also has 3 other names. Paolo Ravinsky, his original name for 2003, before 2006 changed it to Paolo, which is Paullo instead of Paoll. Interesting. Then we have Pavel Pranevsky for Hollywood's revival event, and Billy Skorsky for Singapore's first event. Seems like this man has a lot of different fake names here. No telling who you're gonna get at any of these events. This made the director and Jack the only icons who have appeared in some form at all 3 Universal Studios parks that have featured icons.
Huh. How about that? So they're the only 2 that have appeared at all 3 parks. That's pretty awesome.
This guy seems like a Renaissance man. Seems like he changes his name. I wonder if he changes his appearance or anything as well.
I'm gonna guess probably not, because I have his appearance right here, and it's not a lot to go off of. He wears a suit similar to that of the Caretaker, but without the top hat. He has pale blue to pure white eyes.
So he's just a very well-dressed man. A bit of a Renaissance man, one would say.
Yeah, I would say so. He's a very well-dressed man, just without a hat. He definitely looks like he's dead, though. Huh.
Go on ahead and take a deep dive into the backstory here, and let's figure out where this guy's coming from.
So, these are all the versions prior to the actual story. So all of this is just him in general before diving into the various different storylines for the different parks. So Paolo Pavel Billy, the 3 different names he's known as, was born in Eastern Europe. Aspiring to be a filmmaker, he initially started out as a snuff film director, capturing actual human suffering, torture, and death on his movie camera. His first project was a controversial feature known as The Widow's Eye. The film shocked so many of his country population that Paolo Pavel Billy was forced out, which is when he came to America. Law enforcement agencies and film critics call his work snuff cinema. The director prefers his work to be referred to as art. Some people found tamer examples of his work, such as The Bloodletting and Death Procession. Interesting. So I'm going to read about the Halloween Horror Nights Orlando storyline. So this is this is only for Orlando. This is not for Hollywood or Singapore.
All right.
Paolo was hired by Universal Orlando to film his newest horror film at their Islands of Adventure park. Here he turned each area of the park into a living horror movie as part of his dream project. The director himself would appear in all-night die-in at the event. He also hosted his own torture show where he would subject victims from the audience to horrors on stage and film their reactions. Okay, so pretty standard director. The director would return years later, renamed to Paolo Paulo instead of Paolo Paolo, with the other icons for Halloween Horror Nights Sweet 16, with his own house, All Night Die-In, Take 2. So this guy got his own house. Nice. He also took part in the ensemble show, featuring each of the 4 icons performing a kill in their signature styles, where he electrocuted someone in a bathtub.
Nice.
For a time in 2010, the director was bound by magic to the Sumerian demon known as Fear, and dubbed the representation of sacrifice due to his willingness to sacrifice anything and everything in the name of film. So that is that thing, Fear. Again, we'll talk about him towards the end of the episode. In 2012, the director was revealed to be a member of the Legions of Horror, a Strangoit along with Lady Luck. In 2015, Bloody Mary and Jack broke him and his fellow icons out for Halloween Horror Nights' 25th anniversary. So that is Jack, or not Jack, that is the director for Orlando. Aidan, why don't you tell us about his Hollywood storyline?
All right, well, just going off of everything I've read so far, he seems a little bit kind of closely related to the Caretaker. Not so much in the sense of like how twisted they are, but just more of like their fascination with death. You know, the Caretaker likes, fresh cadaver and all that and experimenting with live subjects, and he loves capturing it on film, I've noticed.
Right.
But let's see, diving here into the Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood storyline, Pavel Pranevsky was hired by Universal Studios Hollywood to create the ultimate horror movie. So already they're off to a really bad start here. Before they allowed production to begin, Universal requested that Pavel submit a short film detailing his project to preview. So I'm sure they're going to love it. However, when Universal viewed the graphic short film, which contained, they claimed Pavel's sick vision was too graphic for movie audiences. They then had the project canceled for good and banned Powell from ever stepping foot into Universal Studios again. They probably should have arrested him too. But Powell did, in fact, take up residence in an abandoned backlot set at the park. Because why wouldn't he? Vowing to get revenge on Universal, aware that Powell was hiding in the backlot, Universal still allowed their annual Halloween event to run in 2006, but warned visitors that Powell was incredibly dangerous. I'd say they just don't care. All right. Diving down further here, we have the director appeared at the event in Terror Tram, the director's cut, where he would take over the backlot tram tour and subject the writers to horrifying, deadly situations within the various movie sets they toured. The director for Halloween Horror Nights Singapore, in 2004, a series of fan-produced short films began appearing on YouTube featuring the director character. These videos portrayed him as a combination of the Halloween Horror Nights Orlando and Hollywood versions. The director's videos had him hiding out on the backlot at Universal Studios, having been hired by producer Bob Ferguson to make horror films for Universal Studios, but then subsequently fired by his would-be mentor amidst rumors of snuff film activities. Sounds like this guy was in charge of the Saw movies, honestly. Paolo was barred from the studio, and his persona was stolen for use in their Halloween Horror Nights event. If he's any bit like Jack, I'm sure he did not take that very well at all. The director sought revenge by killing actors, security personnel, and eventually Bob Ferguson himself on the backlot, filming all of the killings. He escaped capture and vanished soon after killing Ferguson. Paolo would return several years later, making new videos ranting about the subpar state of Hollywood and the horror genre, especially its disdain for the remakes of classic horror films, even recutting a few of his old kills together as a protest to the remake trend. His final two videos featured Powell hunting down a blogger who wrote about her suicidal tendencies, and after knocking her unconscious and tying her up, he convinced her to allow her to take her life on camera. Since then, rumors of this version of Powell showing up at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights events have circulated, along with rumors of vanishing park guests during the event. Images of him attending the event and filming the horror have been found online, but no new videos have surfaced yet. The series found a small cult following among the diehard fans of Halloween Horror Nights Orlando, among the numbers of HHN Vault and Horror Nights Nightmares fan boards.
Huh.
So, yeah, it seems like just can't get enough of killing people, and it seems to take after Jack a little bit, especially after they stole his persona. I mean, I'd understand that a little bit, but yeah, I guess this guy ain't showing any signs of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting from this. So I gotta be real here. I kind of like, as crazy as it sounds, I love the idea of the director for the Singapore story, which is the one you just read about. Basically having a protest against remakes.
Yeah.
I really like that. I don't know why, but there's something about that I just like. I don't know. I really like that though.
I feel like as well, if they were to ever add to his story or even like give more information to him, I mean, if he was ever accepted into Hollywood, he would definitely be after the perfect horror film. I feel like he hasn't achieved his peak yet, and he has a lot of potential, and he's ready to fucking show everyone.
Oh yeah. So, his appearances in marketing. Dean Carr directed the commercials for 2003, which had him electrocute a man in a bathtub and force fishhooks into a jester's cheek to make him smile against his own will.
Okay.
Wow. There were also some recordings which interspersed the two with clips of the director talking about his vision. He appeared pretty much in all of the print campaign posters, and like the previous icon, he also appeared in a newspaper interview where he had the idea.
Oh.
Oh, Lord. Universal at it again. Where he had the idea to break Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez up.
Okay, that's all right. That's a bit of a weird goal to have, especially when your goal is to, capture murder on film. I wonder who he's going to do. Maybe he was like going to physically break them. That's what I can only infer.
Sure, let's go with that. That's all I can figure. 2006 featured him in pretty much all of the marketing alongside his fellow icons. That was also the year where he was the icon for 2006's event in the Hollywood Park. He was the first of the 6 icons in Hollywood history, the successors being Jack, both Freddys, Billy, and Ghostface. Huh.
Oh, okay. I didn't know Ghostface was a part of that. All right.
I didn't either. The marketing used promotional marketing from 2003 alongside some shots of the 2002 campaign as a nod to 2003 and a reference to their own event opening on Friday the 13th. A little 13 logo was situated in the event logo as an Easter egg. I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah. I'm glad they're doing callbacks to everything they've done before.
Yeah, I think that's nice. Singapore had him in the print campaign for 2011 and a new commercial.
All right. Not very much on the Singapore side, but I wonder what the experience is like there at Singapore. I wonder if they have to change like how they do haunted houses. Maybe there's like gore guidelines or something in Singapore. I'll have to look into that.
I don't know. Well, hey, Universal, fly us out there. We'll do a whole episode.
If only.
You never know, man. All right, tell us about him at the event.
Okay, well, at the event for 2003, he first showed up on a television screen in the Port of Evil scare zone, which had unused shots from the Dean Car commercials. So we got a little bit of little leftover footage on the cutting room floor, quite literally. He technically had his own house that year, but it mostly featured Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, and Michael Myers. Oh, Michael Myers, like I was talking about in the last episode of having him be featured. I didn't know he was actually out there already. Okay. Maybe we'll see him again from the, just from everything happening, especially for 30 years. But although he did appear on the projector screen in the facade, he also hosted Infestation, which was a Fear Factor type show. In 2004, he has a segment in the Horror Nights Nightmares house. And during Halloween Horror Nights Sweet 16, he introduced the opening ceremonies, nice, with the other icons on the arrival stage. In that show, he repeated his bathtub kill from the 2003 commercial. Okay, got a bit of a live action there. He also appeared in segments for the Sweet 16, the director's cut show, and once again held an icon house that year. This time, mostly featuring villains from Scream, The Ring, Hellraiser, and Silence of the Lambs. Okay.
Nice.
2006 in Hollywood only had him appear in the park at the end of the Terror Tram, the director's cut, where he killed a person just before the tram entered the mummy's tomb. That's a bit unfortunate. It sounds like Hollywood doesn't really have a lot going on. But let's see, 2010 had him appear at the Main Gates video, which was a slightly edited version of the Warehouse Experience video. He also appeared in the Fear Revealed scare zone, where his set displayed the bathtub reels and interspersed with shots of the new director actor, the one in the commercials. Let's see. He only appeared in a photo op at Singapore's 2011 event, and he once again repeated his bathtub killing icons. He seems to like doing the bathtub bit. Sounds like he should probably, learn some new material by now.
Well, I mean, the big rumor, like we've been saying, is that all of the icons could reappear this year. So maybe, I guess we might get to see the bathtub kill in person.
Or maybe he'll do something completely different for 30 years. I mean, one can only hope. But I'll go ahead and hop on down to the appearances here, and then you can go ahead and just be ready for the storyteller here. So, appearances for our dear friend here. We have Infestation 2003, Port of Evil 2003, All Night Die-In 2003, Horror Nights Nightmares 2004, Rat Run 2005, although it's unconfirmed at this time from what I'm reading here. The Arrival 2006, Horror Comes Home 2006, All Night Die-In Take 2, love it, 2006, Horror Nights The Hollowed Past 2010, Fear Revealed 2010, Icons HHN 2015, and his only appearance at HHN Hollywood was Terror Tram, the director's cut 2006.
Interesting. Okay, now let's talk about the storyteller. The storyteller, her real name is Elizabeth Strict, or Elsa Strict, was the event icon at Halloween Horror Nights Tales of Terror. She returned the following year as a co-icon alongside the Caretaker, the director, and Jack the Clown in Halloween Horror Nights Sweet 16. Okay. So I'm going to read her backstory for you guys. The Halloween Horror Nights Sweet 16 backstory told a possible origin story of the Storyteller. As a little girl, Elizabeth Elsa was visited by a winged creature who wanted to skin her alive. In retaliation, she ate the monster and in doing so inherited its darkness. She then proceeded to rip all of the stuffing out of one of her dolls and murder her mother with a hammer. Okay, so this lady's a little bit nuts.
She seems a little bit unhinged.
No kidding. As to her role to Fear's canon, she first transported guests into the landscape of her newest story called Terra Cruentus. The land was ruled over by the evil Terra Queen, who would oversee the execution of her victims to refill blood vats. The blood was used to create a ceremonial dagger called the Terra Throne Blade, and it was used on the nightly sacrificial ceremonies. On the last night, the queen herself was sacrificed. Huh.
Alright. Bit of it interesting there.
The Lord of Darkness and his servants unearthed the ashes of Horror Nights to revive her and 3 other supreme evils to celebrate Sweet 16. She also refurbished the Dungeon of Terror, a defunct scary roadside attraction. She and her extended family of rednecks inhabited the attraction waiting for their next victims. Is it me or does that sound an awful similarity to Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses?
Yeah, I can see the bit of the resemblance there, especially. But I don't really know what to make of that. I do see some parallel lines being drawn there.
Well, I think I'm actually going to watch that movie coming up shortly. I think I'm going to do an episode on it in the next day or two. I've got it on television here. I can watch it, so I might watch that and kind of see if I can find the parallel there. Because funnily enough, Halloween Horror Nights 29, they did a haunted house. They did House of a Thousand Corpses was one of their houses, and not only that, House of a Thousand Corpses was a house before it became a movie. So I can't help but wonder if there's like a parallel there. I mean, there's got to be, right?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be like a reference or a callback or something. There's too many coincidences.
Yeah. So in 2010, it was revealed that she and the other icons were a servant to a dark god. Her true name was that of Legend. The Storyteller, icons, and features of Horror Nights were eventually returned to the Lantern and locked with Fear. Jack brought her back during Halloween Horror Nights 25 to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the event.
Okay, so going on down here to our appearances at Hollywood or Halloween Horror Nights, my bad. That was a bit of a mistell there, but at the exterior of Islands of Adventure during Halloween Horror Nights, Tales of Terror, the Storyteller could be seen walking around, telling her story, in quotations. However, once guests entered the Terra Cruentus, the Storyteller was unheard of, although she did appear in her own haunted house at the event where evil hides. It was located at the North Hollow, Seuss Landing. Oh, they took over Dr. Seuss? Okay. And took place in a suburban household. Now, the last thing I would think of for horror would be the Seuss Land, but okay. For the following year, 2006, Storyteller was featured alongside Jack, the caretaker, and a director in the show The Arrival. She appeared in a new house unrelated to Where Evil Hides called Dungeon of Terror Retold. This was where Elsa reopened the infamous Dungeon of Terror as a tourist attraction, of course, and invited guests into the depths of her newest story. I feel like she's making her characters as she goes along with any willing participants. She is also one of Fear's minions, Legend, obviously. The year she appeared as one of Fear's minions also made a brief appearance in the house Legendary Truth. The Wyandotte estate as a double Pepper's ghost effect. The effect showed her walking by reading one of her stories in the further of the 2 levels. So a bit of an Easter egg there. And then noticing the guest walking through the house, upon noticing the effect, shifted to the screen layer closest to the guest and displayed the Storyteller's face with her enraged at their presence. Alright, not a very friendly person around people. In 2015, she appeared along with her fellow icons as one of Jack the Clown's minions. In 2016, a portrait of her also appeared in the ghost town, The Curse of Lightning Gulch House. So it seems like with all these characters and all these callbacks and these little Easter eggs, you kind of go to Halloween as sort of like a diehard fan, and you kind of see the story itself every year, and you get to build it with Universal.
Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome that you can do that. One thing I want to take note of is that they built something in Seuss Landing, it appears. If my understanding is correct, and I could be wrong, but I didn't think that they could do anything in Seuss Landing, because it's kind of like how J.K. Rowling is with Harry Potter. The widow of Dr. Seuss is, I believe, the same way. They have it in their contract between Universal and them that you cannot build anything inside of that IP area, because you want to stay true to the IP, basically. And that's why Halloween Horror Nights hasn't dived into the Wizarding World yet. They can't do anything in there because J.K. Rowling has said, no, you can't tarnish the Wizarding World with this. And I thought that Seuss's widow had said the same thing, but I guess I could be wrong. It looks like I might be wrong.
I would assume that maybe they ran an idea by her, like the least thing that people would be afraid of would be a Dr. Seuss themed area. So they're like, let's go and flip it on its head and change people's perspective and make them think like, oh, I did not know that this could be scary.
Maybe, who knows? And one other thing I want to notice. Let me ask you: do you remember the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney World?
Yes.
So, do you remember the scene you go in to the ballroom and you're going over the top of it and you see the ghosts dancing around down there?
Yes.
So that is the Pepper's Ghost effect that they're talking about here, and it's like I think I'm saying this correctly, like you have the action happening, the animatronic or the actor or whatever have you. You have that in one place, but it's behind like a window at an angle, and then there's like a mirror or something, and the way it shines on it, it looks like a ghost. If I'm wrong about how I'm describing this, feel free to comment to anybody and let me know. Explain it. Maybe you can explain it better. But so I think it's really neat that they did this in a double Pepper's Ghost effect to show her doing one thing and then have her appear right there in front of you. Like, that's really impressive to me.
So it seems like that they were doing like a non-technical projection type of thing.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. But let's see. Coming to the close of the Storyteller, we have the list of appearances at HHN Orlando, not featured anywhere else it looks like. We have Where Evil Hides 2005, Horror Comes Home 2006, The Arrival 2006, Dungeon of Terror Retold 2006, Fear Revealed 2010, Horror Nights to Hollywood Pass 2010, and Icons HHN 2015.
Hey there, Terror Talk fans. Are you looking for a new way to let your voice be heard? If so, check out our friends at Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for creating your very own podcast. They offer editing tools to create your podcast, which include your audio, listener audio, unique transitions, and custom advertisements. In addition, they'll also help you distribute your podcast to other listener sources, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. With this unique app, you also have the chance to get paid for your podcast by simply placing ads for various sponsors in your videos. Best part of it all? It is 100% free. Anchor does all the work for you and makes podcasting as simple as turning on a light. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. Whether you're new to podcasting, doing it as a hobby, or hosting a professional show, Anchor is the place for you. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the Usher. The Usher, also known as Julian Browning, was the original event icon created for Halloween Horror Night Orlando's 19th event, Halloween Horror Nights, ripped from the silver screen. Like Bloody Mary, He was a co-creation between Mike Aiello and J. Michael Roddy, where Aiello wrote the backstory for him and by extension the theater, and Roddy handled his video presence and personality in the park. So his backstory: Julian Browning was an usher at the Universal Palace Theater, a popular movie house that had been converted from a playhouse during the 1920s. Browning truly enjoyed working at the theater and loved the movies, especially horror movies, becoming something of an expert. However, Browning was also very strict about enforcing the rules and hated rude patrons who disrupted the movie experiences for others. Okay, so like me in the movies. During a 1940 re-release of his all-time favorite horror film, The Phantom of the Opera, starring Lon Chaney Sr., Browning engaged in a scuffle with a rude theatergoer. During the fight, Browning's flashlight was seized by the boorish patron, who tossed it through the new screen, tearing it. As the furious usher went backstage to retrieve it, he was somehow entangled in one of the old playhouse's sandbags ropes, causing him to die a slow, painful death of strangulation with his feet mere inches above the floor. Wow. It was revealed that this was the first horrible event of many in the theater's history, meaning that either the Universal Palace itself is evil, or Julian's revenge, in quotations, has been to destroy other rule-breaking patrons with classic movie monsters, almost in the same way the Phantom from the Phantom of the Opera would do by causing incidents in the opera house. So the Usher, in a way, is kind of basically Universal's Phantom of the Opera. So that's kind of interesting. Minion of Fear. Julian Browning is the last of Fear's heralds, embodying vengeance through his violent punishments of rule breakers. Seems pretty fitting considering his name. Vengeance is depicted showing one individual bludgeoning another with an object. The object is always seen with light emanating from it. That is an excerpt from Demons Among Us, Uncovering Evil. Aidan, why don't you read about his appearances in the marketing and at the event?
Alright, so the marketing here on the capitalism side of horror. The Usher did not appear on event merchandise or advertising for one, but he did show up for television interviews. Of course, everyone's available for interviews. He also appeared on the HHN website, including the website intro. The intro will later be played on the screen at the entrance to the event as an extended version with additional clip footage and split-second shots of the Usher mimicking his own strangulation. At the event, while not on par with Jack and Mary, the Usher had a fair presence in 2009's event. He appeared at the main gate inside the ticket booth. Well, of course, he's an Usher, along with his female counterparts. He could also be seen on a screen above the ticket booth where he is introducing the scare zone and houses and explaining the rules of the Universal Palace Theater. The Usher had his own icon house called Silver Screams, nice, that he appeared in. Just like Bloody Mary from the previous year, there was a projection system on the waterfront / Men in Black buildings displaying his visage. The Horrorwood Die-In Zone had a brief glimpses of him on the screen. On the final week of the event, he appeared in the Shadows from the Past unofficial scare zone along with Jack, the Caretaker, and Cindy. During Halloween Horror Nights 20 Years of Fear, he appeared in the video at the main gate, which was slightly edited out of the warehouse, or the slightly edited cut of the warehouse experience video from the website, and appeared in the Fear Revealed scare zone in the Horror Nights to Howard Past haunted house with Fear and his fellow icons. In 2015, he led his own segment in the Icons HHN scare zone, where he punished a rude moviegoer with his flashlight. Nice.
Interesting.
I'll go ahead and do the appearances as well. Just a short little list here. We have Silver Screams 2009. Hello, I can't speak. Shadows from the Past 2009. Fear Revealed 2010, Horror Nights, The Howard Past 2010, Icons HHN 2015.
19 years, 19 cycles. It is the 20th cycle. I am the darkness of your foreshadowing. I crave the screams you hold inside. For 19 years, chaos, death, sacrifice, legend, and vengeance have led the way. I demand more. This is not about the past, only the future. I am getting close.
And here we are for the grand finale to have Jeremy introduce it all and talk up a big game for it. We have, last but not least, Fear.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. Fear is here. So, Fear. For the past 19 years, he's been the master behind every frightened scream, every ghoulish creature, every monstrous cruelty at Halloween Horror Nights have all been under his command. Now, for the first time ever, he emerges from the shadows to finally take ultimate control and reign over all he's created.
He sounds a lot like the Shadow Man.
A little bit. So here we go, Fear. Adaru, or Fear, is the ultimate main villain of the entirety of the canon of Halloween Horror Nights, and was the icon of Halloween Horror Nights' 20 Years of Fear. He had been revealed to be the mastermind of the past 19 years of horror. Tell us about his personality.
Alright, so from what little we get of this character, Adaru seems to hold a dark personality. Some of the press videos indicate that Adaru was getting agitated for being kept up in the lantern so long, and really wanted to confront guests in the flesh. Sounds like a very menacing person. Interestingly, when considering the fact that he controlled everything in the past, with the possible exception of 2008, it seems that judging by 2001, Adaru is not without compassion. He revoked having Eddie as the icon for Halloween Horror Nights 9 and instructed Jack to take it over and make it lighter than the previous one due to the 9/11 terrorist attack. So it looks like he made the decision. Even terrorism is too much for him, apparently. It could be theorized that even for him, he found that Eddie would be too dark considering all that happened in the world that year, just like I previously stated, and that he does not deal terrorism. Well, I'm glad to know that Fear is not a domestic terrorist, so at least we've got that checked off the list, so he's somewhat of a good guy. Let's see, I'm gonna go and just hop on the backstory here on the first paragraph, and then you can go and take on the rest of that little block right there. But, influencing events through an old lantern kept in Universal Studios' art and design department, Fear had been slowly using others to prepare for his eventual return. Early in 2010, around 20 photographs of previous Halloween Horror Nights were discovered with strange burn marks, forming a bizarre pattern. An online paranormal research group, Legendary Truth, analyzed the photos and discovered that they were each a piece of a puzzle depicting a symbol. Assembling the puzzle at around 9 p.m. on August 24th, the art and design building at Universal Orlando suffered a blackout, and the demon inside was unleashed.
Okay. So, real quick before we go on, I just want to make one quick correction. It was Halloween Horror Nights 11 that Eddie was taken out, not 9.
Don't know my Roman numerals. That's awesome.
I couldn't let that go. I was like, oh, I've got to say something about this one. So, from the book Demons Among Us, Uncovering Evil by Dr. Abraham Lockheed. We know fear is a response to a perceived threat, to be frightened or terrified. It allows us to be cautious when presented with a situation which might cause us harm. But before the Middle Ages, fear was not used to illustrate an emotional response, but instead defined an event or phenomenon, a physical thing, an entity. This is not a new idea. Greek mythology calls by name not one, but 2 gods of fear. The possibility that fear has a physical presence is mentioned in several ancient scrolls believed to be written by Babylonian priests. The scrolls describe that the demons of chaos, death, sacrifices, mythos, and vengeance heralded the way for a greater evil, an evil trapped inside an object. The priests call out that every 5,000 years these 5 demons take form and claim souls in preparation for the arrival of Adaru, or translated from Sumerian, fear. For when the demons have claimed enough souls, Adaru will reveal himself and bring hell with him. However, in order for the five to even begin to prepare for the coming evil, they must first physically exist. They must be created. Egyptian wall paintings depict 5 men standing around a lantern and dressed to represent the demons of Adaru. The soul of chaos is always depicted laughing wildly and revealing himself from or holding an object like a Pandora's box. Death is always calm and calculated, seen in all black holding an hourglass. Sacrifice is shown always creating something no matter what the cost. If it's a painting, it is his own blood that soaks the canvas, and a sculpture is created using the bones of the one he knows. Mythos is always represented by someone holding a blood-stained scroll or book. Vengeance is depicted showing one individual bludgeoning another with an object. This object is always seen with light emanating from it. Another wall painting reveals the 5 men bowing to what is believed to be Adaru, the demon of fear. Shown standing in flames that lead back to the lantern, Adaru has a hand outstretched from which thorny brambles wrap the 5 men completely. Blood surrounds them.
Alright, so it seems like we're getting a little bit into the mythology side of horror here, especially with Adaru. And it seems been at work for a larger picture, as you would say.
It would seem that way. So, reveal to us the 20 years of fear.
Yep, 20 years of fear. Alright. Soon after his release from the Lantern, fear began to manifest himself over various electronic media, and Halloween Horror Nights. The first evidence of this was a soundbite from a security camera in the design building during the blackout. At first, the noise sounded like a voice speaking gibberish, but when played backward, an ethereal, gravely, could be heard speaking a message. 19 years, 19 cycles. What has been decades for some has been eons for me. On the 20th cycle, I shall be revealed. Not long after, fear began to appear in video clips revealing that nearly all the previous icons were merely pawns to help draw him into this world, and that soon he would change Halloween Horror Nights forever. On September 16th, during the filming of one, but eventually was the only, of the production Die Rise, in the haunted house, the Horror Nights, the hollowed past art and design team member Heather Summers was possessed by fear, demanding that all those watching come to the event so that he could feed on their terror. Fear claimed that he was inside everyone, and that soon they would all bear his mark, holding up a red-hot branding iron with a double X brand as he said this. Soon after, videos began appearing on the Halloween Horror Nights website where Fear began speaking through the previous icons. His 5 heralds: Jack the Clown, representing chaos; the Caretaker, death; the Director, sacrifice; the Storyteller, legend; and the Usher, vengeance. They claimed that the previous 19 years were only the beginning and that a new era of darkness would soon arrive. On September 24th, Halloween Horror Nights 20 Years of Fear began, and Fear revealed himself in all his terrifying glory. After the event, the lantern's light went out and Fear was forced to retreat to his prison, where he awaits patiently to be released again. It is rumored that Fear, despite being trapped, is still manipulating Universal Studios staff members by making them design more creatures in haunted houses and scare zones for future events. In recent years, it seems that Fear's influence has caused corruption amongst the legendary Truth senior staff's inner circle. In 2015, some of his lantern-faced minions appeared alongside the icons as one of Jack's maniacs, suggesting that Fear is still influencing the park staff. His only appearance at HHN Orlando is Fear Revealed 2010.
So that is Fear. So, one of the things that I heard, it wasn't really covered in this one, was that at the end of this event, somewhere I remember it saying that he would return in 10 years. That would make it this year. Not technically, because 2020 was a gap year, but
Well, and maybe his return was COVID. Maybe he unleashed a plague onto the world.
wow. Let's see if Universal goes and tries to take credit for that one.
They probably will, honestly. Knowing Universal, it's too good of an opportunity. It's too good of a coincidence to pass up. Or is it a coincidence?
I mean, I feel like a part of me would be okay with that, but the other part really wants to have Fear come back for this year. Because, like I said, the rumor is that they're all returning. And unfortunately for now, only time will tell. But, I mean, I would be really interested in having an event with Fear, being back. And I want to say... No, they're not calling it that. I thought they might have been calling this event Halloween Horror Nights 30 Years of Fear, but they're not calling it that. They're calling it Halloween Horror Nights 30. They're just saying never go alone. Which I think that must have something to do with something. I don't know what, but yeah.
That would for sure be related to fear, because like you being by yourself, you're most vulnerable when you're alone.
So maybe it does have something to do with fear then. I guess we'll have to wait and see. So those are our 5 icons and our 6th bonus one. I mean, what do we think? Would we like to see these 6 kind of come back in, for the 30th anniversary?
They for sure would come back, because Fear would make this grand entrance, say how it was always him all along, and as a big show of force, and especially over probably Jack, because I know Jack doesn't really play too well with Fear because he's a bit of an egomaniac, but I'm sure Fear would, instruct his minions at the beginning of the event to take over the park, to have a whole takeover and make everyone just even afraid to come back to Orlando.
That'd be pretty awesome. My brain is racing with how they could do it. And, unfortunately, the only thing that we have right now is but mere speculation. And so that is a bit unfortunate. But what is true with that speculation is it is speculated that we will be getting a Halloween Horror Nights Icons house. And what it sounds like, if that is true, what I imagine that being would be, a house where you literally go through and you run into the Caretaker, the Usher, Jack, the Storyteller, the Director, all of them, I'd imagine that'd be some place where you would actually get to see that. And we're keeping up with the media stuff. I'm watching their Twitter like a hawk now. Because let me tell you, Universal is some of the cruelest people. They have the cruelest people working their marketing right now. Because they keep posting things that basically are like, you want me to post something, don't you? Well, too bad. And they do it every day.
That's the same thing with like Rockstar Games. There's a big update coming, and even for Universal, they have a big event coming, and they're just like a little drop of information here, a little drop of information there. You want us to tell you, but we're not going to. You just got to find out.
Yep. So, but the good news is, where it's a little different from like a video game per se, is they have to. I mean, I guess they don't have to. But they're going to give us the information little by little as we go. And so we'll get it. They're just going to tease us for a while. And, it's going to be a build-up all the way up until September. So until probably, early September, we won't know everything that we're getting at that event yet.
Yeah, at least they're going to do a big trailer reveal, because apparently that seems to be their thing. They love giving a little sneak preview to get people to start getting ready to get tickets.
That they do, and the good news is, a lot of people kept asking, like, when are they going to do, an announcement of things, and I think somebody hit it right on the head. They wanted to they didn't want to announce anything yet, because they had the new roller coaster at the theme parks being built, and so I think now that has been built, the hype has been had. It's been open for almost a month now. It'll be a month and 3 days from today. It'll be a month. I think now that they've gotten that hype out of the way, now they can go on and say, okay, now we can afford to start hyping up this Halloween event that we have, and hopefully that's what they'll do. Hopefully they won't wait till the last day or something, and then just bludgeon us with things. We do know with like 90% certainty what some of the houses are going to be. We know one of them, this one has officially been announced, is Beetlejuice, and you basically get to walk through the Beetlejuice movie and stuff, and he's everywhere, and I think that'll be really awesome. And on top of that, I think it's great that Jack's coming back the same year that we're getting the Beetlejuice house.
Well, of course.
So that is so perfect. Like, I don't know if that was on purpose that they did it that way.
Well, of course it was on purpose, because they're rivals, and now that Beetlejuice is gonna be walking around the park, Jack's gonna want to run into him because they've always been separate, haven't they?
I don't know that they've always been separate, but they definitely, like you said, they do have the rivalry, the gang war, as you called it. So that'll be interesting. I'm excited for that, because I think that'd be, maybe we'll have like an epic rap battle with Beetlejuice and Jack or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a kill battle. They each are gonna go and like kill people in different maniacal ways. It'd be kind of neat. But that's one house that has officially been announced. That's the only one that's officially been announced. We're pretty sure we know what at least 3 of the other houses are going to be at this point. One of them is going. 2 of them are going to be the houses that they did for their mini Halloween Horror Nights last year, which was The Bride of Frankenstein Lives, and the other one is Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. So we're pretty sure those 2 are going to come back because they were there last year, and why get rid of a good thing? Because they were very good houses. We're going to do an episode on those 2 houses sometime soon. The other house that we're pretty sure they're going to do, because they did a kind of behind-the-scenes thing of it last year during the pandemic, is puppet theater captive audience. And you basically go inside of an actual theater, and like there's dolls and puppets and all sorts of creepy things like that. And they did a behind-the-scenes tour of that house last year on YouTube and said, puppet theater captive audience coming HHN 2021. Which is this year. So we're pretty sure we're going to get that one. We are not quite sure why Universal is like waiting to announce that, like we don't already know. But who knows? It could be anything. I did see something the other day, and I just want to throw this one last thing out there. On one of our earlier episodes, we did the discussion about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and then we watched Creepshow on the next episode. I don't know about Orlando, but I do know with 100% certainty that Hollywood is getting Halloween 3 Season of the Witch as a haunted house. We have evidence to support it. Some of the people out there in Hollywood have gone in the park, and this haunted house is going to be in the Waterworld stunt show's queue. Like, they're going to build a house in the queue. I don't know how they do it, but apparently they do it all the time. But have been pictures already surfacing of this haunted house and the facade being up. And on the side of one of the brick walls is a Shamrock logo, which is pretty much at that point, it's a dead giveaway. We know what we're getting there.
Yeah.
So we do know for sure that Hollywood will get it. Usually what happens is it's either going to be Orlando follows suits with Hollywood or Hollywood follows suits with Orlando. And I have a feeling in my stomach here that Hollywood already knew what Orlando was going to do. Because, they're all part of the same company. So I'm thinking Hollywood said, you know what, we'll do Season of the Witch too, because Orlando's doing it, and we'll both do it. I could be wrong. Maybe they're going to get Season of the Witch, and maybe we'll get Creepshow. We could get either one. And I think I'd be happy with either one, honestly.
Yeah, either one is still going to be interesting enough, just like we talked about on the episode. I mean, just to recap everything. I mean, yeah, I won't be that too excited about Season of the Witch. I mean, it will still be interesting to see what they do as far as like an actual movie experience to give you kind of terrifying horror, or just to like kind of make you feel uneasy. But I definitely think Creepshow will always just be able to upsell the experience a lot better. But it's up to Universal, and I haven't ever gone to these events either. So maybe Universal just completely blow out of the water, and I'm just blowing smoke out my ass. I don't know.
Maybe, who knows? We're gonna just kind of have to wait and find out. It's July now, so I mean, they're gonna have to start. I mean, I have a feeling they're gonna start pumping out announcements like quickly, because I mean, they've still got to announce for us 9 more haunted houses, all 5 scare zones, any shows that are gonna happen. They've still got more stuff to announce. So I think within the next week or so, we're probably going to see some announcements come flying out. Or, like I said, they could wait. And, I mean, we may not see anything till August. I hope that's not the case, because I really want to see what we get. I want to talk about it. I really want to lay it out, kind of rank, top 10 haunted houses there and kind of see where they are on my hype list, and then, see where they fall after having gone to the event. That's something I want to do. I'm excited, but so we should be seeing some announcements in the next few weeks. As soon as we know, you guys will know. We will drop an episode as soon as we find out, even if it's a short little 20-minute episode, emergency kind of thing. We will drop it immediately. But that is going to do it for today's episode of The Terror Talks, episode 12. We were talking about the remaining HHN icons rumored to be coming back for HHN 30. Don't go alone. So, if you enjoyed our episode today, be sure to give us a like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on all our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. YouTube's not really social media, but you can still follow it. Be sure to go check out our Patreon. You can go on there. You can subscribe to the Patreon for just $1 a month. $1 a month, ladies and gentlemen, that is like a pack of gum. Actually, it's less than a pack of gum. We have 3 packages. You can do the $1 a month package, $5 a month package, or the $10 a month package. You do the $10 a month package, you get some merchandise. I believe it's every month you'll be able to get some exclusive Terror Talks merchandise, as well as also getting early access and bonus content. Same with the $5 package, you'll get bonus content and early access. And then on the $1 package, you will get early access. So be sure to check us out and subscribe to the Patreon. We might go around and tweak some of those benefits that you'll get for the $1 package, kind of maybe, see what we can throw in there to make it a little more enticing for you guys. If you don't want to do it that way, you can also check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a dozen of other podcasting sources. You can check us out on all of them. We are on every single one. Check out our friends over at Tales from the Crypt. They are releasing episodes every Monday. Every Monday they release a new episode where they're talking about abductions, hauntings, paranormal sites, anti-dimensional stuff. Check them out. They have awesome content. You heard our little plug for them at the beginning of the episode. Also check out our friends at the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. They are talking about all things Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, all things Universal. And they also have a sister podcast called Rush of Fear that covers all things HHN related, Halloween Horror Nights. So be sure to check them out. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank you guys for listening. If you like what you do, if you want to be featured on the podcast, send us a message. You can drop us an email at theterrortalks@gmail.com. We are happy to answer all your emails, questions. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you want to send us an audio message, we would love that as well. We have a new episode that's going to come up very soon where we want to do the listener's guide to Halloween Horror Nights. So if you have been to the event and you have your personal tips, tricks, guide to the event, send us, in a short little, it can be a minute long, it can be 5 minutes long, it can be 10 minutes long. Tell us what your ideal Halloween Horror Nights is. Tell us your tips to have a successful, amazing Halloween Horror Nights. We will feature you on the channel. You will be featured in the episode. We would love to have you guys. You can send those clips to theterrortalks@gmail.com. State your name. Let us know where you're from. We'd love to hear from you guys. So that's going to do it for us here on episode 12 on the Terror Talks. We will see you guys next time.